So I'm Paige Listerud and with ChicagoTheaterBlog, and we're back. And I just wanted to basically give people a chance to talk about Playwright Scholar Series, basically a staged reading of The Man Who Had All the Luck, the very first Arthur Miller full-length play that was ever produced. And that's a nice contrast with his last full-length one, which is Resurrection Blues. And I just wanted to give people a chance to talk about Playwright Scholar Series and what it's supposed to be about and what it offers to non-subscribers as well as subscribers.
I'll just say real quickly about Playwright Scholar Series in general, and then I'll turn it over to JP and Nora to talk about this one that we just did last weekend. But the Playwright Scholar Series in general, we started doing this a few years ago with the intention of giving our subscribers and our audiences a deeper exploration into the playwright's canon than we were able to do with just the 3 productions. So we started off doing staged readings of productions that were dramaturgically interesting or that we didn't have the opportunity to put into our season. One of the first ones that we did was a Keith Radine play that he was rewriting, and we workshopped that play with him and got audience feedback and created a new version of it from that. And it was such a great success that we thought this should always be a part of our season. So we've been building that over the last couple of years and developing what we're doing with the Playwright Scholar Series. But the first one that we just did for the Arthur Miller season was a staged reading of The Man Who Had All the Luck, written in 1941, and a really fun reading. I don't know if you guys want to talk about where that was coming from or what this experience was.
Well, and actually, just to give a little more background, the Man Who Had All the Luck was originally on one of the plays that was suggested for the season. But then once we got Resurrection Blues, it was like, okay, well, we've got to do Resurrection Blues. But it's an interesting little piece. It's his very first play. It only had 4 professional productions on Broadway in 1944. It was a huge flop. One reviewer had said that this would end his career completely. He should never write again. Thank God that didn't stop him from doing it, because he would have lost an amazing writer. And it's an interesting little play. It's I guess the best way to kind of describe it is it's a somewhat retelling of the story of Job from the Old Testament. You've got the main character is David Beeves, and it's Depression era Midwest, and all these good things keep happening to him while all these bad things keep happening to people around him. And the play is written in a sense where there's this constant looming doom. Something's going to happen. Someone's going to fail. He's going to fail somehow. And he's always trying to see where the final shoe is going to drop. Nora was in it with us. We played Esther. No.
Hester.
Hester Beeves, his wife.
Yeah, someone actually. Well, it's so funny that it was such a flop, because after the Playwright Scholar Series, the feedback was, this play is amazing. Why isn't it in your season? That was shocking, actually. Yeah. I was really surprised, because, I think the play, it feels like an early work. You can see, playing Hester, someone came up to me after the Playwright Scholar Series and said, boy, it's not really very much fun to play a woman in an Arthur Miller play, or something like that. And I was like, well, I had fun. It's not oh wait, I said, yeah, she's a pretty two-dimensional character. And the woman said, not two-dimensional, one-dimensional. And then I look back on this character, and she is very straightforward. She's not a very dynamic character. And then you see the growth of the women in his plays and the strength of the women in his plays. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that we are exploring After the Fall, which has so many fantastically interesting women. But all with different flaws.
Yeah, just this role, Hester basically has to deal with David's growing mania and his fear over failing at something big, and will it be his business or will it be his child? And Hester can't live with that anymore. It's getting to the breaking point in their marriage, basically. And I can't think of that as a two-dimensional role. That's a very serious. Hester's got her feet on the ground, and David is. And your relationship starts out very sweet and very genuine and lovely, in the beginning, and then it just becomes darker and darker and darker, through the course of the play. So Yeah, there's nothing two-dimensional about that. Hell no. Yeah, and then this dynamic between like you and Gus and David. I mean,
I know.
That gets
very
in there.
complex.
Yeah, so
that's true. And yet, so even a sort of thinly drawn character, female character for Arthur Miller is there was a lot of growth that he had in his career. I mean, so Hester, I think, is much like almost an early version of Kate, in Death of the Salesman. No, I'm sorry, that's not.
View from the Bridge.
No, I was thinking the wife's name in Death of the Salesman. It is Kate, isn't it? Or no, it's not.
Alice.
Linda. Oh my God. It was Kate Reed who played her in the movie.
Okay.
We do know Arthur Miller, I assure you.
Okay, sorry.
I mean, just finding ways to support the struggling man, and yet, View from the Bridge, B falls into that category too.
Yeah, she does actually. Yeah. And what's interesting about Man Who Had the Luck is it feels like the work of a young man, like Nora said, but also you really see the beginnings of a lot of his themes and a lot of the things that are very dear to him. Everything from the big American idea of what is America, what are we Americans about. Even the father-son dynamic is all there. Certainly the relationship with women begins there, as we just said with Hester and David. So it's interesting to have a play there where you can kind of almost find the blueprint to where the career kind of begins to take off, where the ideas kind of spawn from, and that was really fun to just kind of dive into and really play with. And although it was a staged reading, we really kind of worked it so that there were moments that we could have with each other that were real and that made sense for the play. As you read it, it seems very melodramatic. It was very important to us to not make it that way, because I don't think it's not that. I mean, it can be perceived as that, but it
could be simple like a fable, but you can't make it simple like a melodrama. Like that. Because there's nothing simple about the emotions that people are going through. And one of the things that really, I felt there was a certain youthfulness about the way Miller was handling the themes, but at the same time, I just got swept up in listening to the cadences of the voices of the different characters. He already has down pat, like American colloquial rhythms of speech and stuff like that. Contrasting that with Gus, the Austrian, who's coming in to work, and he's got it down. It's like already just coming out of his pen, practically. So that's thrilling, And I noticed that about Resurrection Blues, just like every character has their own speech rhythms, and Stanley comes in, and your rhythm is just this hippie slowness, and with lots of, ambiguity and kind of casual, and it's so different from, General Barrio, and his kind of manic, so and trying to manipulate the chorus, into everything. So it's he's a genius with speech.
He really is.
He's really got speech down, for each character.
It's like they're all just there, just living his entire life. They're just there, just need to be unleashed somehow.
Yeah.
It's just fun. And then for the rest of the series, we do, for the Playwright Scholar Series, we do 3 events. And so the next one we're going to be probably looking at a lot of his political writings, especially HUAC, especially in relation to After the Fall, and even with Resurrection Blues, you kind of get a sense that HUAC had a big, part in his life as far as his politics and where he, his civil liberties and everything, where he stood on those issues.
I was going to ask if you were, interested in kind of drawing, Infamous Commonwealth into that discussion, because they are doing Crucible. That's the quintessential HUAC, play. So, maybe, sort of, kind of. We can always ask.
I talked to Chris a little bit about trying to find some way to be able to do that. We're looking at our scholar series, possibly looking at Miller's adaptation of Ibsen's Enemy of the People, and especially looking at some of the changes that he made in the context of what he was going through with HUAC and McCarthyism. And that was one of the entry points into that discussion that we were looking at. But the Crucible is certainly, it's all there. That's what the Crucible is. So I would love to get Chris and Infamous Commonwealth involved in that in some way.